On this episode of A Girl and a Gun, I'm joined via Skype by John Maizels and Paul Briscoe at the SMPTE conference in Hollywood, California.
A Girl and a Gun, recorded on the 24th of October 2013, episode 26, Skype date with John Maizels and Paul Briscoe.
All you need to make a movie is a girl and a gun. Come along and join the party while we stare at the sun.
Hello, welcome to A Girl and a Gun, the show for filmmakers and content creators. I'm Phil Moore, and I'm joined via Skype by John Maizels and Paul Briscoe. G'day, guys.
G'day, Phil. G'day.
And you are where are you?
We're coming to you live. We're live in the Hollywood ballroom of the Hollywood Hotel, and you might actually come to believe that we are actually in Hollywood. In fact, we are in the hotel that is used as part of the Oscars. It's right next to the Ray Dolby Theatre, what is now, it used to be, what was it called before it was the Ray Dolby Theatre? It was the,
I don't know.
Yeah, the Kodak Theatre before, before that, where the red carpet is, and we're next door, and we are we're in the Hollywood Ballroom, and next to us is the Ray Dolby Ballroom, which is where the SMPTE conference is happening, and that's why we are both here.
And to give you a little more context, right outside on the sidewalk here is the mile where all the stars are laid into the sidewalk, and you can see that. And just down the road is the Grauman's Chinese Theater, where all the old-time movie stars put their hand and footprints in the cement.
Absolutely.
Yep. And one more thing, one block north and one block west is the hotel where Janis Joplin died.
Yeah, we just thought we'd throw that in.
I went to most of those places, but I didn't go to that hotel, unfortunately, where Janis Joplin died.
There you go.
Look, it's an exciting place, folks, and we are sitting in the room here in the Hollywood Ballroom just a little earlier tonight, and I can show you this because I stole a program. In fact, I stole a whole lot of things, but I didn't steal an Emmy. So the technical Emmys for 2013 were given out in this room,
Right.
and some of the interesting recipients, Sennheiser got a technical Emmy. There's a name that nobody's ever heard of, and but some other people like Aspera, who got an award for technology. YouTube picked up a technical Emmy.
Really?
YouTube was only founded in 2005. So 8 years ago, YouTube did not exist. Yesterday, from this very, they got it for doing stuff.
Right.
For YouTube.
Yeah, their parallel media transcoding engine and media processing framework provide for massive media processing capability with extremely low latencies.
Well, that's true enough, yeah.
Now, I'm not sure why low latency is important on a playback.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the zap time when you're waiting for it to start.
Yeah, something like that. And in fact, from this very ballroom, only yesterday, we streamed a lunch over Ustream. They are running, they can run something like 1 million streams simultaneously, or at least two. We only had to worry about one, and it worked, yeah. It was great.
Hey, John,
it was great.
I'm going to interrupt you because I would like to know a bit more about our guest here. What exactly is Paul's
Does Paul do?
Yeah, what does Paul do?
Paul's background, I met him over dinner. Before that, I didn't actually know who he was.
Yeah, I'm the brother of his prostitute, and I guess you are going to post this, aren't you?
Yeah,
this is going into post? Okay.
Oh, totally. Yeah. When I said it was going to post, I didn't mean in an envelope. I just meant.
You meant post-production?
Yeah, we were going to edit out the bit where you said I was hanging out with your prostitute.
That's it. My sister.
Oh,
it's my sister, damn you.
It just gets more exciting.
Well, if I could figure out how to shut off Maizels' microphone, I could actually answer some questions for you.
Yes, so Paul, tell us a bit
Paul
about
is the
yourself.
principal technologist. Paul is the principal technologist
Let him tell me.
for Harris. But just a minute, I'm going to introduce him, and then you can say before that, because otherwise, it's difficult for him to say. Before it was Harris, it was Leach.
Keep going, you're doing well.
And before Leach, what was it before Leach?
The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
All right.
Aye. He's a lumberjack.
Oh, do you want me to do that song?
I do not wish to
know
do
it
it
well.
No. Paul is actually a real Canadian.
I am a genuine Canadian. The other Australia.
Yes, indeed. Our colleagues in Canada.
There you go.
But Paul is also, on the SMPTE section in Toronto?
I'm the chair presently of the Toronto SMPTE section, and I'm involved with the various standards committees in SMPTE as well.
So is that why both of you are there primarily? Is for the SMPTE conference and the committees and things like that, yep?
Pretty much.
This is the conference. I presented 2 papers. I don't know why John's here.
I needed to pick up a paper. I put $1.50 in the slot. They gave me the paper.
So what were the papers you presented, Paul? What were they on?
So one paper was on a new technology we're developing in SMPTE to deliver Genlock reference signals over the IP network.
Would you like that again in slow motion?
Genlock reference signals over IP. Okay.
Yeah. We ship around signals in TV plants like color, black, and time code, and we want to move to an IP world, and we need to synchronize. So we have a standard under development, which shortly will be ratified, we hope, this calendar year, knocking on wood, which allows the delivery of those over an IP network.
Does that use one of the 802.1 extensions?
No, it does not.
Okay.
It uses something called IEEE.
I understand the basic principle of what you're saying, but if you get geeky on me, you'll lose me completely.
Well, the point is we can get geeky on you, Phil, because there are people who aren't you who would actually understand what Paul just said.
Anyway, that was one of the papers.
Yeah.
The other paper was related to up and down conversion to and from high definition to ultra high definition.
Important
and
stuff,
the
yes.
considerations. Yeah.
All good, important stuff.
Kind of interesting topics. They got me a trip down to LA, and that's the main thing.
Which absolutely is. Just on the topic of ultra high definition, the Japanese NHK came out with their what was it they called their system? They called it ultra high definition, but in
that's
fact
the 8K.
The 8K system. The term ultra high definition has temporarily been usurped by the consumer electronics industry, which couldn't see that they were going to sell an 8K set anytime soon, but can sell 4K sets now. So the big buzz here is about ultra high definition, which is currently 4K. Now, 4K means twice the resolution in that direction and twice the resolution in that direction of 2K, which is what we have essentially now with high definition, as we know it. So 4 times as many pixels running, well, bigger, faster, better. That's the debate.
That's it. And it looks beautiful. It's wonderful stuff. It's coming to the consumer market. The problem we face right now is there's no reasonably good way to get it into the home except via YouTube and other things like that.
True. In fact, one of the news stories that came out this week, you probably were aware that Apple had released a whole swag of new products, one of which is they've announced the new Mac Pro desktop, which will be coming out next month for $3,000 to $4,000, which is a perfect machine for a 4K workflow for filmmakers.
Beautiful.
So at the creation end, 4K is very much happening. But as you say, for the consumer, there is no 4K disc format. There is no easy way to watch 4K content yet.
Well, that's not quite true. We've seen a number of very interesting technology demos, and that's one of the things that happens at a conference like this. So one of the technology demos that we saw in a room set up to showcase 4K specifically was a demonstration of 4K material compressed down with HEVC, the high efficiency video codec, to 6 megabits. Now, I didn't think it was a terribly convincing demo only because it was a bit jerky, but I think it was jerky because the origination material was actually in 24 frame. And therefore, there were artifacts that might have had nothing to do with the conversion process.
Well, 6 megabits is a pretty tight squeeze anyway, even with HEVC for 4K.
And it was an amazingly good picture for 6 megabits.
Well, was it dropping frame rate? Was it playing at a different frame rate or something?
No. Well, I don't know.
Well, so here's the deal. We're discovering more and more at 24 frames on a smaller screen, you don't really notice the judder. But if you play pure 24 frames on a 4K screen, your brain can't fuse the motion, and you actually see judder, especially in your periphery.
Okay, so
that's why.
But hang on, why would that not be a problem on a film screen where you're seeing 24?
It's not 24. They double flash it.
Well, they double flash it. So wouldn't they?
Your brain is getting individual cues.
But wouldn't you effectively, wouldn't you be double flashing even a progressive scan on, say, a 120 hertz TV?
And I don't know why they didn't have that turned on, because it would remove that to some degree.
Right.
Okay, so on the bigger screen, 24 frames becomes much more distinct without the double flashing, which they do in cinemas, is what you're saying.
That's right. But all of these sets provide some level of frame rate up conversion in the set to try and minimize that. The other problem with 4K is you're supposed to watch it a lot more closely physically than HDTV. So it's in the periphery of your vision, and your periphery is much more sensitive to flicker.
Yeah.
So there's a number of human things. Yeah, so there's some human factors that have to be engineered around.
Yeah, and we saw some interesting demos, like or stuff that had been shot on 5D,
Canon 5D,
but then shown on an 84-inch screen. Now, to give you some idea how big 84 inches is, size does matter. It's a humongously big screen, from which it was very difficult to be more than about one picture height back.
That's right.
Just in
That's the
room.
size of my TV at home.
84 inches.
I think it's about
Nice.
84, yeah.
Wow, that's nice. And that's a
Well,
CRT, isn't it?
Gee, I'm coming around to your place. No, it wouldn't be.
It's a joke.
Phil, I don't even think you'd have an 84 centimetre TV.
Ah, well, whatever.
Okay, we're
It's
just
only
testing
possible.
here. We did see some pictures that looked really, really good and really interesting. We saw 2K up converted to 4K and compared side by side, and it was pretty much impossible to tell the difference, which meant either the 2K wasn't very good or the 4K was really so good that you couldn't tell the difference.
Then
So
the
why would you bother?
argument is 4K really worth the upgrade? When you up-res 2K, you can't much tell the difference.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. On the right material, it makes a lot of difference. Is 4K suddenly going to be the panacea that sends everybody off to buy new TV sets? Well, the consumer electronics industry hopes so.
They certainly hope so.
Yeah.
They hope that, your first TV was an HD set that's now looking a little old and looking a little dim compared to
Right.
current technology.
And they're going to get you on the emotive tweak rather than there is suddenly a hugely better picture.
Well, but there's some other things too, because the 2K will play beautifully on it. It looks wonderful.
Yeah.
4K content will play natively and look super wonderful.
Yeah.
But these TVs are smart TVs, so you now have the ability to take the picture down in size and open up a web browser and do other things on screen.
And I think the other
simultaneously.
things
You
you'll
have
do
enough
with
pixels.
the 4K TV is have multiple pictures and windows and different things going on at once. There's also been
Yeah.
using the 3D engine, have two people watching different programs on the one screen.
Okay, that's
potentially.
creepy.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's neat, but that's creepy.
yeah, why would you want to do that?
Well, it's
Particularly when one of them would be watching like this, and the other one would have to be,
No,
like
using
that.
the 3D glasses, you're watching different interlated frames.
so you
Yeah, that's right. It's polarizing. It's polarizing. You see, Paul's
Polarized,
watching
yeah.
one program now, and
all I see is your head.
I don't see Phil anymore. I see Paul's sister, who appears to have come in from the
Dakota,
curve
yeah.
outside. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting, actually. Just as an aside, a friend of mine's wife has great trouble watching 3D, and we figured out how to make her a pair of glasses to wear in the theater. We stole a couple of pairs of glasses and swapped one of the right lenses for a left. So she only gets to see
two left lenses.
left eye with both eyes.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't see 3D, but she doesn't go nuts.
Right.
That's interesting.
But that's the same way
Yeah.
two people can watch two shows.
Yeah.
I have the left eyes, you have the right eyes, and we just put one show on each channel.
That's right.
You
That's
can
the
watch your
idea.
cooking show, and I can watch my whatever show,
Your lumberjack show.
my lumberjack.
But
show.
you have to wear headphones for the audio.
Yeah,
Well,
that's it. Or plug one ear.
Yeah, or just listen to the two things.
So that's an interesting idea. That's a really cool idea.
So what else has been going
This
on
will
at
be
the
appearing in
Symphony
Harris Broadcast product line fairly soon after you patent that idea, won't you?
Well, actually, I have a 65-inch Sony 4K set I just bought for my lab, and it's a stereo set.
For your lab.
Back in Toronto.
For the lab.
For the lab.
Yeah, bought it for the lab.
I did. I don't have 6K to spend on the set myself. But it's a stereo set with polarized glasses, and that's something I'll try when I get home. Is actually put one picture on one channel, one on the other, and see how the
You can
isolation
run
is.
tests in the lab.
No, not run tests. Just play with it for a
Play
minute.
with it. Okay, that's good.
There's no commercial opportunity there for me.
We we also, by the way, just some fascinating stuff here. You never know what people leave behind. So they've left the entire set of cue cards for the technical Emmys. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Television Academy's 65th annual presentation of the Primetime Emmy Engineering Awards.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else worth talking
now
about?
they're out of
the Emmys
sequence.
yet? Any other notable winners?
No, not about the Emmys at the moment. We might cover that when we get back.
Okay.
When I've had a chance to read it, because I wasn't in the room this year, so I'm feeling really a bit left out of it.
So what else has been
But
going on
I-
at the Simply Conference then? What's the
I do have the list, so I know who was in the room, and they're going to get it tomorrow. Another one of the reasons you come to these conferences is because you get to see technologies that are coming down the track. What's interesting is how quickly those technologies turn into reality. So, for example, 3 years ago, I went into a presentation where a couple of people working in a lab were showing the prototype of some ultra bright LED lighting for film and television.
Yep.
So they had a thing that looked like a standard 2K flood, like a 2K Fresnel size container. Paul's just going to do something on his phone while I'm talking.
I'm just going to show you LED lighting.
Oh,
that
okay.
works. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, you got the front fill in.
I don't know. It's just the light on the phone.
Well, you got the Phil. Hang on. If you pointed at the camera, do you reckon we can do something about Phil? Because he's a bit overdriven there.
Is he? Let's see if we can. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Well, I
okay,
think
that'll
for
make
you,
it.
on the camera,
Let's see if
I'm
we
not
sort
sure.
that out in post.
Let's fix that in post.
So anyway, a standard, television 2K flood size container, and they showed this thing. They pointed it up at the roof, and they said, "Look, this is an experimental light." And it was bright. It was burning a hole in the ceiling. It was really, it looked like a good Fresnel. And then the guy said, well, actually, we don't really need the big case. And he took the side off the case, and there was this tiny little thing which was connected to a couple of D cells, and that was what was creating all this light on the roof. It was an extraordinary demo. And the question is, how far down the pike? Well, this is in development.
Yeah.
Well, on the floor, they have such a light. This is now commercially deployed. This would be no more than 3 years later. It's still in the 2K size fitting. It has a Fresnel lens, but a very fine gradation Fresnel lens. They don't actually need a particularly thick lens, like a typical glass lens on a Fresnel. It's very thick, but that's because there's all this heat coming from behind it. The LED, there isn't.
No heat, yeah.
And you can dim it from really, you don't want to be looking anywhere near this, down to quite dim and no change in colorimetry.
And running off a couple of Regulus batteries.
Well, in this case, it was running off some sort of power supply.
But yeah,
presumably
so low
could
power,
run.
Yeah.
You could actually sell this thing with batteries included if you wanted to. So, it's not so long. Some of the technologies really appear here quite quickly.
It's amazing. At NAB this year, all the lighting vendors are selling LED lighting now, and it's getting tougher to buy an incandescent luminaire.
And yet, an interesting discussion with one of my colleagues today, who is, although he's a SMPTE member, but he's actually responsible for a performing arts centre, and they're building this. And he says that you actually have problems with compact fluorescents and LED fittings, which do flicker, and they flicker just perceptibly in your human perception range, and that flicker, if it's at the wrong rate, is enough to throw out musicians, because the musicians relate the flicker rate to musical notes, to harmonics, and it can throw them off the game.
Well,
Well, that was my reaction too.
Tempo that they're playing to.
I'll take it at face value.
Not the tempo, the pitch.
Oh, really? Okay.
If the flicker rate is
Really?
slightly subharmonic, slightly off what they might expect, they can go for wrong intonations, all kinds of things.
Really? So you play in a different key in Australia at 50 hertz than we do in North America at 60.
We try
You just
not to.
retune for North America.
We try not to. But look,
That's musically poor.
it was just something that I hadn't thought of, and apparently it's a real consideration. Who am I to say that's crap?
Well, the things you learn at SMPTE.
I'm John. That's why I'd say. Yeah. All right. So what is the most exciting thing that you've seen on the floor, apart from your own product?
No, my own product actually isn't that exciting. I mean, we make infrastructure equipment.
Yeah.
I'd say the 4K demo room. Forget the products that people are selling. The 4K demo stuff was all very, very interesting.
Be able to get in there and get dirty.
Huh?
You'd be able to get in there and get dirty and look at stuff and poke.
So, okay, how
To
far
see the
away
different
are
technologies.
how far away are we, do you think, from a viable consumer 4K distribution? I mean, we've got online kind of with YouTube and whatever, but it's not really out there a lot. So how close are we to true 4K? The TVs are there, but there's no content.
I'd say a year.
So
I'd say a year online, and probably 2 years for satellite and cable broadcasters, and maybe, Lord knows when, for terrestrial.
So next Christmas.
Well, let me postulate. If the demo that we saw, which admittedly was probably very carefully done, but 4K on HEVC at 6 megabits. Now, for a long time, the early MPEG days, we said, well, you're not going to get high def in less than 15. That was what the high profile was specified.
With MPEG 2.
And everybody eventually said, well, yeah, look, you can do it in 12. Well, 12 is substantially more bits than 6.
Yeah, but it's MPEG 2. And
You're
MPEG
right.
2 is
Well,
ancient.
that's what I'm saying. If you take HEVC, if it looks okay at 6 and you give it 12,
It looks okayer.
okay, and
Absolutely.
wouldn't that give you a good basis for terrestrial delivery of 4K?
It may. We have to deploy HEVC, and that's the hard part, because that needs to end up
Legacy.
So
in a
tell
set-top
me a
box
bit
or
more
TV,
about
or in software.
HEVC. Tell me a bit more about HEVC. How does that compare to H.264 currently, or 265?
Well, it is
It
H.265.
is 265, right. So
And you're
how
asking the
big a
wrong guy
leap
here. I'm
from,
not that intimate with it.
how big a leap from 264 to 265 then?
If I remember, it's something like, I can't remember. I think it's like 25% or
it's substantial,
50% more. It's like a lot.
Mhm.
It's substantially better performance than 264.
Okay.
So
And that's-
you went from MPEG 2 to
MPEG 4,
AVC,
yeah.
what we call MPEG 4. Yeah, look, I could probably look up the numbers. We'll intercut this later. It'll come up in a super roundabout now.
It's okay.
John said that the improvement is
Right. But it's taken a while for this to get out there. So now, within a year or so, this will now become the new compression standard, and 4K is going to help drive this. Yes. Am I correct?
I believe
there?
so, yeah.
yeah.
And software delivery platforms. So the ability to decode this on a PC, for example, or on a Mac, is going to probably precede the TV sets, not by a lot. And as well, the problem that cablecasters and satellite broadcasters have is they've got to deploy brand new set-top boxes, and that's very expensive if you've got a couple of million subscribers. But if it's YouTube or something or some other broadcast medium playing to a little box you buy for $100 and
Exactly.
plug into your TV, that's compelling, and it's in the consumer's hands. So that's probably how it'll go. Is you literally buy your little 4K Roku player or whatever kind of player.
Roku, Apple,
what
whatever
kind
it's going to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. There'll be a 4K version that supports HEVC in a software decode.
But here's the thing about those players is they're not actually constrained in the way that over-the-air television is. Over-the-air television is still, in Australia, 50 hertz, in this country, 60 hertz. But your toy player, your internet experience, your iPad, whatever, doesn't have to be that at all. And it doesn't have to have everything converted to 60 hertz or 50 hertz with artifacts.
Right.
It can just run it in native resolution.
Right.
And that could be, your commercial spot could be in one resolution at one frame rate, and then your movie can be at another.
Right. And in fact, in North America, I mean, the trend is going to become that we're going to watch our TV shows at 30 or 60, but advertisers still want their commercials to be in 24 for the film look. And that's just fine because you can now intermix streams of different format and just cut from one format to another, and the player just plays.
It's totally agnostic in terms of resolution, frame rates, etc. Yeah.
That's right. Unlike old TV sets.
Yeah, and agnostic is a very important word. Everybody is trying to come up with product where the downstream part is agnostic.
Yeah.
And that's what's
And
happening
that's
now with the web. And that's why online services like Netflix in America and everything's moving online to, that doesn't matter. You can put the content up in any resolution, and 4K can be part of that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
At the upper right end. Now, an interesting thing, I was talking to somebody, I won't say from where because they're a supplier to this vendor, but Samsung will be announcing at CES in January a 4K display tablet.
Oh, right.
And that's just crazy. But they pointed out that at the viewing distance of a tablet, it's just about right for 4K, and that's all the resolution they imagine putting in a tablet because of that.
In fact, Microsoft were
Unreal.
touting the new Surface 2 as a good 4K workflow, so they're claiming it could be a good 4K tablet, although I don't think the screen has that resolution exactly yet.
Well, yeah.
We're not even sure that Microsoft has that resolution.
Assuming a Microsoft Surface is good for anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, but...
Interesting comparison discussion today. You look at movies that are dragging people into the big tents. The big one at the moment, as we go to air, is of course Gravity,
Which I saw this week.
which has
Excellent
exactly 2 actors and 5 voices in it.
Yes.
Despite which, it had 3 people doing the casting. So there's an out of kilter effect there, and people are flocking to see that in, say, IMAX rooms in 3D. And
I
for the
saw it
last
in 3D.
3
It was a
weekends.
brilliant 3D film, actually. One of the
Yeah.
better films in 3D, and well worth seeing that way.
And thank you for pitching IMAX, a Canadian invention.
Yes, absolutely, with the rolling loop, an Australian invention.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Just thought
Very, very
throw
nice.
that in.
No, that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Brotherhood.
And we're going to go out and get drunk after this.
He's drunk right now.
There is
You're
an
not there
after
yet.
this.
Well, so what is it? It's
So-
almost midnight there now, so you just had...
Oh, yeah, it's fine. We've just been eating all day.
It's all good.
The people are going to see these movies in the big tent. The question is, what sort of experience are you going to have watching Gravity on an iPhone, on a screen that big. This film has taken 3 years to make. They concentrated down to the level of holding off production because those 3 stars up there weren't quite right. We'll go back and fix it. And then you're going to watch it on a screen that big. I don't think that's...
No.
You see, I think you're looking from the wrong end of the world here. I think you're totally looking from the wrong end of the world because all a content producer wants is for people to watch the content. And if somebody wants to watch it on an iPhone, why on earth would you not let them?
Well, as long as they're buying
it.
it.
Exactly.
I'm not saying whether or not you let them. I'm saying whether or not it is really whether you can get the full experience doing that.
Yeah, I suppose, well, you don't get the full experience. The question is, do you get to see the movie? Forget the depth of experience for a second. Can you watch the story?
As the content creators, we can't control how people choose to view it, but if we make it available in whatever form they want to view it, that will help lessen the piracy issue at any rate. So if they want to watch it on iPhone, fine. As long as
I think the other way round, Phil, because I think you're talking there about people, giving the excuse to the pirates. If somebody will watch it on a screen that big, and a pirate can produce it on a screen that big, people will watch it, and then they won't go and see it on the big screen.
But now you know why YouTube won an Emmy, because YouTube takes care of distributing it to you over the medium to a little screen, a big screen, a medium screen.
True.
And it's all rights protected, right?
Pretty much interesting quality.
So if you want to, it should be watched on a big screen, a film like that. But if you say to people, you can only watch it on the big screen, and we're not releasing it, not making it available for little devices, then that becomes an issue. For people who do want to watch it on
piracy takes
iPhone,
over.
Right.
Well, exactly right. And we're falling victim to what I'm now calling the old bugger syndrome, where we just don't get people watching small screens. But if we were in our 20s, we'd get it. I look at my daughter and her friends, and they don't even turn on their TVs. They watch all their stuff on the pads.
I agree. I couldn't possibly watch a film like that on a small screen like an iPhone. But some people do, and that we should give them that option if they really want it.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Or the second time. You see it once in the theater, you loved it, you want to see the story again, you put it on your little device.
I was halfway through watching
like
Gravity in the cinema, exactly, and even before I'd finished watching, I said, I'm going to buy this on Blu-ray. This is really good. I love this film. I'm going to get this as soon as it comes out. So I'd already made
Certainly a very impressive film. The most scary thing I've heard was yesterday during the keynote, which was an industry luminary and from one of the studios. And he was asked, well, when are you going to make material available in 4K? Now, we all know that one of the things that killed 3D was there simply was a shortage of material. There just wasn't stuff you could watch, certainly not easily, certainly not over the air as it transpired. And we did hear some spin here from people who were saying, yeah, but 3D was fine. There was plenty of consumer take up on the 3D. So having been told that, we were then told, yeah, our studio will release the 4K product. We'll wait to see how much demand there is, and then we'll release the product. And that sounded like a death knell to me. I believe that if we should have learned one thing from the 3D experience, it is that not only is content king, but an absence of content is death.
How can there be demand if there's nothing there to demand, if it's not there to buy?
Well, because the consumer electronics industry is going to create an experience that you want to go and buy, which is to run into the white goods store and walk out with this $6,000 box.
Yeah, but there's nothing to
The question
play
then
with.
is, what are you going to feed it with? Well, that doesn't worry the salespeople.
Yeah, okay.
Look, the interesting 3D thing.
Yes, go on.
I was just going to say, the interesting 3D thing is I bought this Sony 4K monitor because I need a 4K screen for development purposes.
Yeah.
It's inherently a stereo set, inherently 3D.
Sure.
Passive glass is set.
Sure.
So it's just buried in there. They put the lens in front of the display and they ship it. And they're not advertising this 3D. They're advertising it as 4K. And, oh, by the way, it displays 3D. And
Do you think on the basis of that there's going to be a renaissance in 3D when everybody suddenly discovers that they've got the set?
Well, no, but that goes back to content being king. Because there will be a more deployed base of stuff to watch it on.
Maybe.
And as long as there's enough good stories being told that aren't just all whiz-bang 3D, 4K, like Gravity, really good compelling films that also work with this technology. Guys, we're going to have to wrap it up here. So thank you so much for calling in via Skype. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us.
A pleasure. A lot of fun.
That's our first successful
Phil with the news.
Hey? Sorry, John?
I was doing a throw for you. You'll have to edit this and saying, And back to Phil for the
And
rest
back-
of the news.
Well, that's it. We're not going to do much news. There wasn't much news this week. That was more important, I think, getting in touch with you. Thank you very much, guys. And that is it for this episode of A Girl and a Gun. Join us next week. You can join us at agirlandagun.tv or tweet us at agirlandagun. And John, for now, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
All you need to make a move